story by C. West, justice is often represented by a set of perfectly balanced scales. But real justice is rarely balanced. It is carried by people who have been hurt, ignored, abandoned, and forced to decide what they will become after everything familiar has been taken from them. For Duchess, D. Simone and Lawrence Ford, justice did not begin with masks, glowing symbols, hidden headquarters, or midnight patrols. It began in a swimming pool. Before the city knew them as the anchors of justice, Dee and Lawrence were 18-year-old Olympic athletes representing the United States on the world stage. They were two of the youngest swimmers on the national team. Dee stood 6 feet tall, with the powerful, streamlined physique of an elite swimmer. Her African-American and Hawaiian heritage, short faded curls, relentless discipline, and quiet confidence made her impossible to overlook. Lawrence was equally gifted, fast, focused, technically brilliant, and always aware of the people around him. He had trained beside Dee for years. They were teammates, rivals, best friends, and something neither of them was ready to name. Dee understood Lawrence better than almost anyone, but even she did not know how deeply he loved her. During the competition, cameras captured their victories, their smiles, and the pride of an entire country. What the public never saw was the jealousy growing behind closed doors. A powerful foreign organization believed the American team had humiliated its athletes and damaged its international reputation. With support from corrupt officials, private contractors, financiers, security personnel, and intelligence operatives, a plan was created. The swimmers would disappear. The official explanation would be confusion, an accident, or a transportation failure. The truth would be buried before anyone realized a crime had occurred. One night, after leaving the Olympic compound, Dee, Lawrence, and the rest of the team were surrounded by masked gunmen. The attackers moved with military precision. Communication systems were disabled. Security cameras were redirected. Local authorities were delayed by false reports. The athletes were forced away from the compound and loaded into unmarked transport vehicles. They had spent their lives training their bodies for speed and endurance. None of that prepared them for what came next. The team was taken to a hidden detention site far from the Olympic Village. Their captors wanted information, political leverage, and control. The athletes were isolated, interrogated, and beaten. Dee refused to surrender her dignity. Even when injured, she tried to protect the younger swimmers. She memorized doors, guard rotations, voices, and every detail that might help them escape. Lawrence did the same. But when the captors threatened Dee, Lawrence made a choice that would define the rest of his life. He offered himself in her place. He believed that if someone had to absorb their cruelty, it should be him. What happened afterward left wounds he would hide for years. One of the captors assaulted Lawrence. He never told Dee. He never told investigators. He carried the memory alone, believing that silence was the price of protecting her. Days later, an international rescue operation breached the facility. Government agents and tactical units moved through the compound, recovering the exhausted swimmers and arresting several lower-level operatives. Dee was found holding Lawrence against her, refusing to leave him behind. The rescue was presented to the public as a successful counterterrorism operation. The athletes were praised for their courage. The surviving team members were taken home. But the architects of the kidnapping vanished behind diplomatic protection, offshore accounts, shell corporations, and classified agreements. The people who planned the crime remained free. In the weeks following the rescue, Dee and Lawrence endured medical examinations, interviews, and government debriefings. Officials repeatedly asked them what they remembered. They wanted names, locations, accents, vehicles, and descriptions. Dee answered their questions, but part of her attention remained elsewhere. During one debriefing, she quietly began sketching. At first, the drawing resembled an athletic compression suit. Then, she added Union Force sections along the shoulders, ribs, knees, and forearms. She placed a symbol over the chest, an anchor fused with the scales of justice. She kept the sketch hidden from the officials. She did not even show Lawrence. Not yet. The design was not merely clothing. It was the first physical expression of a promise forming inside her. If the system could not reach the people responsible, she would create something that could. The years that followed changed them both. Dee returned to training, but swimming alone was no longer enough. She added CrossFit, mixed martial arts, parkour, defensive tactics, and strength conditioning. Her body remained athletic and agile rather than bulky. An Olympic swimmer rebuilt into a decathlete and fighter. Lawrence turned toward technology. He studied surveillance systems, cybersecurity, tactical engineering, financial records, and covert communication networks. While Dee strengthened her body, Lawrence built the intelligence infrastructure that would someday guide her through the city. At 24, Dee finally completed the suit she had first imagined during the debriefing. Black and deep blue. Lightweight, flexible, and reinforced without restricting movement. The Justice emblem rested across her chest. A hooded mask concealed her identity. Dee was not seeking fame. She was creating a warning. Her first nights were uncertain. Lawrence monitored her from their apartment, tracking police frequencies, traffic cameras, and emergency calls. Through an earpiece, he guided her from rooftop to rooftop. During her first street-level intervention, Dee dropped into a rain-soaked alley where two criminals had cornered a terrified victim. She landed between them. Low stance, controlled breathing, no dramatic speech, only the glowing blue symbol and the realization that someone had finally arrived. Dee's reputation grew quickly. Criminals began freezing at the sight of the emblem. Some fled before she took a single step. Others discovered that the woman beneath the mask possessed the speed of an Olympic athlete, the power of a CrossFit competitor, and the discipline of a trained fighter. But power introduced a new danger. Dee began to believe she was not strong enough. Every night she faced men larger than her, organized crews, armored enforcers, and people who had spent years using violence without restraint. She wanted an advantage. She secretly began using experimental testosterone-based performance boosters designed to accelerate strength, muscle development, bone density, and recovery. The results came quickly. Her shoulders became broader. Her arms and legs developed greater definition. Her 6-foot presence became increasingly intimidating. But the boosters affected more than her physique. They intensified her aggression, impatience, and emotional impulses. Lawrence discovered the vials inside their private gym. He understood why she had taken them, but he also understood what she refused to admit. Dee was no longer only trying to become strong enough to protect others. She was trying to make herself powerful enough that she would never feel helpless again. Their confrontation became deeply personal. Dee tried to explain, but anger overwhelmed her. She kissed Lawrence too aggressively, attempting to force closeness when he needed distance. Lawrence pulled away and left the room to calm himself. Dee was left alone with the realization that she had frightened the person she loved most. In a surge of rage and guilt, she shattered a table with one blow, put on her damaged suit, and went on patrol. That night, she fought recklessly. She struck harder than necessary. She ignored Lawrence's warnings. Her suit tore under the force of her movements as adrenaline and the boosters pushed her beyond control. Lawrence found her before she crossed a line she could never undo. He did not condemn her. He embraced her. Dee finally broke down in his arms. For the first time, she admitted that beneath the strength, the training, and the symbol, she was still terrified of becoming powerless again. Lawrence forgave her, but forgiveness did not erase consequences. A medical examination revealed that the boosters had significantly altered Dee's body. It also revealed something neither of them expected. Dee was pregnant. The news transformed their mission. Dee could no longer treat her life as if it belonged only to her. Lawrence began taking a more active role in the field while she monitored missions from their apartment. The roles were reversed. For years, Lawrence had watched Dee disappear into the night while wondering whether she would return. Now Dee sat at the mission desk, listening to his breathing, tracking his pulse, and understanding every fear he had carried. During Lawrence's first solo intercept, he stopped a robbery with discipline and restraint. But when he later cornered a criminal connected to their past, rage nearly consumed him. Dee watched through the monitor and spoke the words that brought him back. "Don't become them." His fist remained clenched, then he lowered it. Their greatest strength was no longer physical power, technology, or fear. It was their ability to stop each other from falling. Their mission widened. Lawrence revealed that he had spent 5 years investigating the Olympic kidnapping. He had compiled names, photographs, locations, government seals, transportation routes, financial records, shell companies, and intelligence connections. Every lead formed part of a global network. Dee opened the folder and realized Lawrence had never stopped searching. They returned to the country where they had been held and found the abandoned detention facility. Together, they burned it to the ground. As the structure disappeared into fire, a single tear moved down Lawrence's face. He was not mourning the building. He was releasing the part of himself that had remained trapped inside it. But destroying the site was not enough. Lawrence handed Dee the complete list of people involved: planners, financiers, government liaisons, security chiefs, transport specialists, interrogators, psychological operatives. Dee looked at the names and understood that they were no longer chasing revenge. They were preventing the next team, the next child, and the next family from becoming victims. They built a hidden command center known as the Justice Garage. Inside were tactical suits, helmets, surveillance systems, global maps, evidence walls, and 2 heavily modified black and blue sports motorcycles. Lawrence upgraded the bikes with armored panels, tactical lighting, encrypted navigation, and electronic countermeasures. The motorcycles gave them speed, mobility, and the ability to cross the city before criminals knew they were coming. They became more than vigilantes. They became investigators, witnesses, survivors, and living evidence of a crime the powerful had tried to erase. Dee is the force that moves forward. Lawrence is the balance that keeps that force from losing direction. She is the anchor that refuses to be moved. He is the scale that reminds her why justice must remain measured. Together, they are the anchors of justice. They do not believe the law is meaningless. They believe the law must be defended from the people who purchase, manipulate, and hide behind it. They do not hunt because they enjoy violence. They hunt because silence allowed the conspiracy to survive. And somewhere beyond the city, the first name on Lawrence's list has already realized that the past is no longer buried. 2 motorcycles race through the rain. 2 blue symbols cut across the darkness. And the people who once believed themselves untouchable begin to understand the truth. Justice does not sleep. It evolves.